Well, welcome everybody to the online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in Powell River, BC. And our topic is on this meaning-centered therapy we do at Sunshine Coast. And we've been running this pilot project for a few weeks now. We have all the data in and we're beginning to analyze it, and we're coming up with some themes or patterns that apparently are involved in helping us understand addiction and recovery. Anyway, so far we've talked about the addiction part as being this idea of a loss of the self, loss of who the person is while they're in active addiction, and also the idea that being in active addiction allows a person to feel free to be themselves, because it eliminates all this clutter out of their mind, all these things they're worried about, or their anxiety or depression or what have you. And now we'll talk about one of the things we've discovered about what recovery might involve. So our pilot project, and all this data we've been collecting, seems to be coming up with this theme or pattern that everybody is a unique human being and finds recovery in his or her own way. Now, in a sense, this seems rather commonsensical, right? Because we know everybody is a unique human being. We've talked before about this myth that seems to constantly be floating around and completely baffling to people like me, of the addictive personality, as if there was something rooted in a person's personality that would make them addictive. And I pointed out that some of the finest researchers in the field have been looking at research for now almost 5 decades, and no one's ever figured out this mysterious addictive personality. We find out that people who suffer from addictions have typical personalities that we'd find in the general population. So in recovery, and this makes sense, because if everybody is interpreting reality a little differently based on where they grew up, the kind of family they were in, the friends they hung out with, their kind of education, all these sorts of things, it makes perfect sense that they would interpret their recovery in that way too, in a way that resonates with them, in a way that they can personally make sense of. And this is what we've been discovering from the research, that although maybe the fellows here are all getting the same workshops and more or less the same therapy, they're all discovering whatever it is they need to make sense of their lives in a personal way, so that it becomes personally meaningful. And this is kind of interesting, because one of the things we know from some types of therapy is there's sort of like a cookie cutter approach, and it may be that the cookie cutter approach may not be all that useful if people are interpreting it in this personally meaningful way. At any rate, again, I don't want to make too big a deal out of it because it's only a pilot project, but it's a very common theme that's emerging from all of the data in our research, that everybody is making sense of his addiction and his recovery in this very specific way that resonates with him personally, and that makes sense, that they can grasp all these facts and everything else and put it all together in this unique way. And no two of the participants so far in our research have the same ideas, although the general umbrella certainly seems to be pretty clear, but everybody is finding their unique way. Anyway, we'll be back with another topic.